So yeah, as you can see with this new incredible threat now on Spider-Man's radar, it doesn't matter how powerful he is, how much he is holding back, because even at full strength, this stranger to this powerful intruder can take it all. And Spider-Man has to try his best to not only protect the civilians of New York, but to even just stay alive in this brutal and deadly encounter. And so if you're just picking up right in the middle of everything going here, let me give you a little quick refresher. Spider-Man was going about his normal routine, trying to sweep up some bad guys in the Hobgoblin's return, when this mysterious stranger known as the Hellgate just drops into his life in the middle of New York and wants to battle and fight Spider-Man at his absolute most powerful. And that's basically it, not an elaborate backstory, but that's where we are. Peter here trying to pummel and beat this Hellgate, giving it his all, because he knows he can take it. Pushing his limits, hitting this new villain with everything he has. Peter even going on to say while he's giving it his all, that he didn't ask for this fight. He doesn't even want to hurt Hellgate, but of course he will, and it ends now, whether he's conscious or not. And Peter actually does manage to even damage this guy, giving him a little bit of a bloody nose and some blood running down his face, which this right here, for the very moment, is impressive, seeing what's going to happen a little later. And Hellgate, after taking a beating from Peter, he does nothing but slightly chuckle at this full force effort, which imagine fighting someone, giving it your absolute best, your 100%, and they simply just laugh at all, as he immediately reaches out and grabs Peter by the neck. Not only that though, but flinging him dozens of feet inside of the air, taking him off and leaving Peter in a very vulnerable position, as he even goes on to say that he has this weird itching in the back of his brain. For the first time in so long, he thinks in this very moment that he truly is scared. Now, even with Peter having this battle in the present, it kind of coincides with a flashback we see between him and Uncle Ben. Peter being a little boy, a little kid, learning from his Uncle Ben how to fight. Peter preferring to do karate, while Uncle Ben tries to teach him boxing. Though there is a lesson at the end of all this, because in the end, Peter does want to learn how to box, but Uncle Ben just says, sounds good, just so long as you make me a promise. Only fight when you're truly out of options. Basically meaning, sure, learning how to fight and standing up for yourself is a good thing, but you also need to know when to run. Essentially the idea of picking your battles and knowing a right time and a right place. And that's exactly what we're going to see here once you pick back in the present and Spider-Man's body is just flung into the very populated New York park. Of course, trying his best to tell everybody to run, get away from this massive threat, because Hellgate doesn't care about any human civilians or human casualties. But instead of running and getting out of this dangerous situation, everybody instead just pulls out their phone and starts to record Spider-Man's beaten body. Hellgate himself taking this time to crack a multi-ton statue on top of Spider-Man's head. But it wouldn't just fall on Peter himself, but the civilians right across from it. So Peter does what a hero should do, protecting the civilians. Instantly trying to estimate the weight of the statue, the height, the velocity of which it is falling, to grab and hold the very heavy statue while everybody else runs for safety. Though this goodwill act is twofold, because yes, he does save the human lives here, which is more important, but he leaves himself vulnerable as Hellgate just starts beating on him, punching this distracted Spider-Man in the stomach, breaking rib after rib. Spider-Man trying his best to just stay conscious. There's blood spewing at his mouth, maybe even his lung being damaged and collapsed. But in the end, what he set out to do, save the civilians, he was successful. But this act here kind of confuses Hellgate, because he seems to be from off-world, from a different planet, realm, dimension, whatever you want to call it. He goes on to ask Spider-Man, why does the welfare of these insignificant creatures, the humans, why do they distract you? In which it also doesn't help that the NYPD shows up at this moment. It immediately guns John about to attack Hellgate, so Hellgate instead goes on the offense using his fire abilities to just incinerate all of the officers there. Now on the other end, Spider-Man takes this time when Hellgate is distracted to get I don't want to say cheap shot, but using Hellgate's own weapon against him, which it's pretty insignificant and does barely any damage, but it does bring the focus back on Spider-Man. Hellgate, though, just body checks Peter, swatting him away and sending him flying off. Peter even thinking in his head as he just tries to get his bearings back and stay conscious that at the very least, the good news is that his shoulder is back in place. Bad news is Hellgate is suddenly gone. It seems like he wants to use his weakness of Spider-Man's, his dual focus, and exploit it. Now intentionally attacking the civilians, a bus full of innocent people, getting ready to just obliterate them and potentially kill everyone on board. And Spider-Man can do nothing but watch this from aside. He tries to scream, but the blood in his throat and mouth just pulls it back. It's meaningless. But in this moment where it's literally do or die, at least for the civilians here, time slows down and he thinks of the words of Uncle Ben. Him at one point going on to tell Peter that if you're alone, you run. The fight's not worth it. The only thing that gets hurt is your ego. But if you have someone to protect, people you love, someone weaker than you, then it's not truly a choice, is it? Peter finding the strength to stand up and push past his physical limitations and weaknesses and hurt to lunge at Hellgate, sending him away from the bus. In which this starts another battle between the two. The only bad thing is Spider-Man is just slowly getting weaker and weaker. His injuries, even though he is pushing past it, does take a toll on him, which for a brief side tangent, one of the very underrated things about Spider-Man is it's just direct willpower. Like, because Peter is no Thor or Hulk, he doesn't have world-shattering durability or strength for that matter. Not saying he's a slouch or isn't strong, but he isn't on that level. So when he does encounter a force just like this or a very powerful opponent and gets beat by that powerful opponent, his willpower just to stay in the fight, just to keep pushing forward, it's just off the charts. Like, if you gave this man a Green Lantern ring, I have no doubt that he could be among the best Lanterns just with his direct willpower alone. Like, this kind of reminds me of the time when he was fighting the Phoenix-empowered X-Men. Like, Spider-Man was taking a beating, yet in the same fashion as here, he just wouldn't quit, he wouldn't stay down. Though in the present, we find out that this Hellgate isn't as unshakable as he might seem. He is quite literally a hothead. Not only saying that because his powers seem to be something with heat and fire, he is not only prone to anger, but his ego can be used against him. Spider-Man, of course, using his agility and very agile reflexes to evade and lead Hellgate away from the civilians in the general area. Though eventually he is caught in a direct swing from the Hellgate, completely shattering his foot, as lightning sears up his leg, broken, and he slowly starts to black out. But he stops himself. The same willpower as I said before, Peter is just unmovable when things get tough. So he continues on his plan to move inside, trap him inside of an enclosed location instead of just out in the open where everybody is, which Hellgate easily takes the bait, going into the enclosed building to try and find Spider-Man, as he just caves in the entire roof on top of him, or at least a part of it, because Spider-Man just isn't strong enough right now. He's taking a beating. His overall power level, if you will, is not at 100%. So Peter decides to give it his all. Even on his shattered foot, which just got broken, he pushes with all of his strength, completely collapsing the building on top of Hellgate, which serves his purpose in momentarily downing him and giving Peter a moment to get his breath, recover. But it does leave his leg in an even worse state, which he has to web up to keep him from just completely giving out. But suddenly, while Spider-Man is licking his wounds, a voice rings out, telling him not to worry as backup has arrived. And in this moment, when Spider-Man is fighting against this ginormous odds and very powerful opponent, here is when you really want your Thor or your Hulk. Heck, if I was Spider-Man in this moment, I'd settle for even someone like Luke Cage or someone like The Thing. Yet here we get a pretty unknown character, which to my knowledge is an original hero and there's not much history with him, but he goes by Captain Kintsugi. And we're not exactly sure what his deal is, if he has any powers or he's just kind of like Captain America, as in a tough guy with a shield, as he obviously does look like a Iron Man, Ultron, Captain America hybrid. Also the fact that he looks like a little kid, a teenager, which of course in this situation, that's the last thing Peter needs. Hero or not, he's just another person Peter would have to worry about and could potentially die when Peter is up against the Hellgate. So of course he just tells him to run. And it looks like nap time is over as Hellgate gets up again, now being completely angry that he's being toyed with, and goes to finish this battle once and for all, just pushing through all of the tons and thousands of pounds of debris and concrete and stuff to get straight to Spider-Man to end this and potentially kill him. Peter even going on to think in his head as he tries his best to survive and put more of this rubble and distance between the two, that even when you feel your bones scraping against one another, blood and bile mixing in your mouth, you have to protect those weaker than you, even if just for a second, because in that second, you win. So as you know, we see here Peter about to get almost beat to death in fighting for very survival. For the majority of the other New Yorkers, this is just any other morning, it only being 6 a.m. We see exactly what someone else is doing, and specifically Mary Jane, as she just wakes up doing her normal morning routine. Which of course, if you're not caught up with current Marvel lore, MJ and Peter have kind of splitting up. Peter currently even having a thing with the Black Cat, and MJ with Paul, which is a whole other situation in and of itself. We'll take a video explaining how that came to be. But in this moment, MJ, for the very first time in a while, her mind drifts to Peter, thinking, what is he up to right now in this moment? Not knowing that, of course, he might be taking his last breath very soon. She checks her phone and social media, the local news, and sees exactly that. Spider-Man's face on the front page of everything, fighting against this new menace and powerhouse Hellgate as they went across New York, just wrecking everything in their wake. Now, if you're just like me, you'd be wondering the same thing. Cool, we see this powerful opponent, Spider-Man fighting against him. That's cool and all, but this isn't exactly a novel or a new concept. If anything, this is a very outdated and played out concept. New mysterious villain of the week challenges our hero, and then, too powerful, the hero has to somehow find a way to overcome this problem and beat him in the end. Yet here, the story and set of circumstances aren't so predictable, as we finally get a little bit more insight about what exactly Hellgate is and why is he trying to kill Spider-Man, and is going to be successful in a second. As he goes on to tell Spider-Man that he was supposed to teach him everything relies on Peter's strength, quote unquote. Him continuing on saying that whoever sent him here, this Nicodemu, that their farsight and their planning was clouded. Clearly Spider-Man isn't what he was sent here to find, that he embodies weakness. Peter even called Hellgate a coward, yet Spider-Man's death will prove that he was weak and had nothing to truly teach him. But before he can go further and choke the life out of Spider-Man, suddenly a voice rings out, not only Hellgate hearing it, but Peter now too, and it's whoever this Nicodemu truly is, telling Hellgate to keep your hand and hold back, because it has been foretold, prophesied that Spider-Man is going to be his guide to greater heights. All very mysterious and intriguing stuff. It seems like this is all connected way deeper than it seemed on the surface, and Spider-Man is going to be in a heck of a situation going forward, because even as Hellgate goes up to pick up Peter's body, getting ready to deliver the defeating blow, he only has 2 words for him: get stronger. Because in this moment, 45 minutes after their first encounter and first contact, for whatever reasons not fully known here, Hellgate has finally defeated Spider-Man, which just holding back and surviving against a strong opponent for that long in and of itself is a decent feat, yet in the end Spider-Man got defeated all the same, though that does leave one burning question: what is left in store for Peter? Potentially he is this prophesized one that is going to make Hellgate stronger and teach him something, but for what? What does Hellgate need to be stronger for, and what even bigger threat is coming? But that is something we're going to find out next time as this video and issue comes to a close. As always, this was the Hero Informer, and thank you for watching.